Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Dithmini De Silva. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
MP Chandima Vijayasiri responds to Minister Kanchana Wijesekara regarding oil deals. President expresses regret to the Japanese government over the suspension of the Colombo Light Rail project. A teacher hospitalized following a shooting in Balapitiya. 15-year-old child killed in an elephant attack. Dengue risk increases. Minister says all state institutions should take measures to eradicate dengue.
MP Chaminda Vijayasiri responded to a privilege issue raised by Minister Kanchana Wijesekara in Parliament over a statement made previously by the MP.
During the debate to remove Janaka Ratnayaka from the PUCSL, the minister said that there was a conflict of interest. A charge was raised against him over this conflict of interest. Therefore, I made an assumption over the matter. I did not make any reference to the minister directly. The minister said that I brought forward marriage proposals for him and that he was looking for marriage after accepting the dowry. I would like to tell the minister that the father-in-law of Chaminda Vijayasiri is a rural farmer from Bandaravela. You can ask MP Denipitiya about it as well. I married the woman I loved. I have never abandoned her for issues. I am not a person to engage in such acts. I will not mention the others, though I can. I will not compare myself with you. We are like the two polar ends. I will not slander anyone's personal life, but if you try to slander me, I will not falter. We can talk about it with the legal action filed by Sujiva Senasinghe. I will respond to what he had said. I am not a person who built hotels after entering the provincial council and the parliament. I do not have secret bank accounts. Prove it if you can. Then I will step down from politics. This is a document on the 2022 lubricant market in Sri Lanka as prepared by the PUCSL. We looked into some of these companies. It lists the Singapore-based Sinopec company. When we visited the website of the International Lubricants Company,
IOE is a bio-registered company and the filling owner a subsidy of the McLaren Group of company.
They have linked with the Chinese company that linked with the Singapore company and then linked to the local company that deals in rupees. Rupees are for local businessmen. That is why I raised my concerns over a possible conflict of interest. If your feelings were hurt over my assumptions, I regret that. We have made the process adopted in this endeavour very clearly. Anyone can challenge it. If someone is using parliamentary privileges to make assumptions, to make allegations, that is violation of privileges of all MPs.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe expressed his regret to the Japanese government for the suspension of the Colombo Light Rail Transit project, which was being implemented with Japanese support.
During the official meeting in Tokyo on Thursday between President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, the President emphasized the need for future legislation in the Parliament to ensure that bilateral large-scale projects cannot be halted or cancelled without the agreement of both parties. The Prime Minister of Japan warmly received President Ranil Wickremesinghe and bilateral talks commenced after a friendly conversation between the two leaders. President Ranil Wickremesinghe expressed his gratitude to Japan for its support in helping Sri Lanka recover from its economic crisis, thanking the Japanese Prime Minister for his assistance. Japanese and Sri Lankan leaders on Thursday confirmed the importance of transparent and fair debt restructuring, apparently warning against China's alleged debt trap diplomacy, which uses loans as leverage to gain concessions from borrower nations. The agreement came during a meeting in Tokyo between Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who expressed appreciation for the Asian country's role in restructuring his nation's debt.
In the most difficult of times.
In another meeting held in Tokyo, President Ranil Wickremesinghe met with Japanese Finance Minister Shunichi Suzuki to discuss Sri Lanka's debt restructuring and the International Monetary Fund's program. Subsequently, President Ranil Wickremesinghe met with Japanese Foreign Minister Mr. Yoshimasa Hayashi, focusing on strengthening long-term bilateral relations between Sri Lanka and Japan, including increased cooperation in economic and cultural fields. Additionally, President Wickremesinghe and former Prime Minister of Japan, Yasuo Fukuda, participated in a breakfast meeting organized by the Japan-Sri Lanka Association in Tokyo. During the meeting, President Ranil Wickremesinghe briefed the former Prime Minister of Japan on the ongoing economic recovery program in Sri Lanka. The President highlighted the favorable investment climate in Sri Lanka and extended an invitation to Japanese investors to return and invest in the country. Furthermore, a meeting was held between the former Prime Minister of Japan, Taro Aso, and President Wickremesinghe, focusing on potential steps to strengthen the existing close and friendly relationship with Sri Lanka. President Ranil Wickremesinghe also engaged in bilateral talks with Singapore's Deputy Prime Minister Lawrence Wong in Tokyo. The President reaffirmed Sri Lanka's commitment to implementing the Singapore Free Trade Agreement during discussions with the Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore.
In other local news, 2 shooting incidents were reported during the past 24 hours, and Crime Watch has the details.
Crime Watch.
The deputy principal of a school in Ambalangoda was injured following a shooting on Friday the 26th morning close to the Balapitiya court complex. Police spokesperson SSP Nihal Talduwa told News First that 2 motorcycle gunmen had opened fire at the victim and fled the scene. The injured man was identified as a 44-year-old, and Sri Lanka police said that he was a relative of notorious criminal Koskoda Suji. Gunmen opened fire at him when he was travelling on the road, and the police spokesperson said the injured man was admitted to the hospital.
Crime Watch.
Sri Lanka police said that motorcycle gunmen opened fire at a man in Thaldena of Ambalangoda on Thursday the 25th night. The target of the shooting was a 33-year-old man. Sri Lanka police said that the motorcycle gunman had opened fire when the man was returning from a wedding with his 7-year-old son on a motorcycle. Police said that when the shots were fired, he had jumped off the motorcycle with his son and the gunman missed the target.
Crime Watch.
In more local news, Ministry of Public Administration and Home Affairs says 2 hours will be allocated every Friday from today in every state institute for dengue prevention activities. Secretary of the Ministry Ranjith Asoka said the relevant directives were issued to heads of state institutes. He added that steps will be taken to issue a circular in this regard soon.
ඩෙංගු රෝගීන් වාර්තා වෙන්න ගත්තයින් පස්සේ මේ අවුරුද්දේ මුල් වකවානුවේ අපි දැක්ක ගිය අවුරුද්ද.
After dengue cases were reported in the beginning of the year, we saw a rise compared to the last year. We studied into this to find out the reason behind this. Compared to the rest of the years, there were certain changes in the weather patterns resulting in changes in rainfall. Along with that, we saw a rise in cases in certain provinces. There are 2 varieties of mosquitoes called primary vector and secondary vector. Primary vector is called Aedes aegypti. Secondary vector is called Aedes albopictus. Secondary vector mosquitoes were reported from the areas where primary vector mosquitoes are reported. Primary vector helps the spread of the disease. Areas like Gampaha are examples of this. This should not only be done by the state institutions. All institutions must commit to this. We will clean up all premises on Friday mornings for 2 hours.
ඔබගේ අවට පරිසරය අඩුම තරමේ පැය දෙකක වගේ ප්‍රමාණයක් යොදාගෙන සියලු දෙනාම ඒකරාශි වෙලා මේ කටයුත්තට මුල පුරන්න කියන එක තමයි මෙන්න අපිට.
37,209 dengue cases have been reported from the country thus far. According to the National Dengue Control Unit, 18,420 patients have been reported from the Western Province. The National Dengue Control Unit said 61 MOH areas declared as dengue high-risk areas. Moving on to more local news, the Minister of Health said plans are in place to produce 30% of the medicine requirement locally by the end of this year. Additional Health Secretary Dr. Saman Ratnayaka said only 17% of the country's medicine requirement is produced locally at present.
මේකට සේලයින් නිෂ්පාදනය කරන ලංකාවේ ඩෙස්ට්‍රෝස් නිෂ්පාදනය කරනවා. ඒ වගේ අපිට
Saline and dextrose is produced in Sri Lanka. Similarly, we will be able to produce all drugs required for diabetes and heart patients locally. Factories are being constructed for this purpose. Some factories are taking steps to commence the drug manufacturing process. By August this year, 2 large factories and a private factory to produce insulin will commence operations. A factory was established to produce medicine for heart-related illnesses, and they expressed willingness to provide their products to Sri Lanka. The number of factories has increased from 8 to 21.
The Department of Examination says students still have the opportunity to make necessary changes in admission cards for the GCE Ordinary Level Examination. Commissioner General of Examinations Amit Jasundar said, however, the time period granted to make the changes online has now ended. The O-Level exam will commence on the 29th of May.
We received reports of admission cards not being issued to certain candidates in some schools for various reasons. I urge principals to refrain from holding on to the admission cards for any reason to resolve other matters at schools. Hand over the admission cards to the candidates as it is their right. The children need to sit for the exam.
All government and government-approved private schools will close today for the O-Level exam. The Education Ministry said schools will reopen on the 12th of June. In more local news, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Working People's Front, Shamira Perera, convened a press conference and expressed his views regarding the removal of Janaka Ratnayaka.
They should stand up for the people. This is a matter regarding the common good and the lives of the people. The chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka stood up for the people. The people have made their decisions regarding those who voted in favour of the proposals. The people will respond to everyone who raised their hands with the UNP SLPP junta, including those who supported it from the SJB and the opposition.
The United Socialist Party says a broad opposition alliance must be formed in order to prevent the destruction of democracy.
The true nature of the democracy of the Ranil Rajapaksa government is being revealed now. They want to ruin the independence and identity of independent commissions and make them institutions that work under the cabinet, president and prime minister. To protect their MP seat, the Ranil Rajapaksas are destroying independent commissions, and it is a serious threat to democracy. We need to face this challenge. The real opposition that is against the government and not the fake opposition who claim to be anti-government need to form a broad alliance against the destruction of democracy.
පුළුල් සන්දානගතවීමක් අවශ්‍යයි මේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය මරා දැමීමට එරෙහිව.
The second generation convened a media briefing in Colombo yesterday.
6.9 million people voted to appoint a leader under one country and one law, hoping it will uplift the country. But power shifted to someone who holds a completely different stance. This happened because those who entered parliament with the people's vote supported it. Those same people are fearlessly criticizing the president who received the public mandate and saying the current leader is better. We are under the rule of such a group. When a new leader is appointed tomorrow, they will rally around that leader to hold on to their ministerial portfolios and continue their journey. The leader who comes to enforce the law will have to listen to the goons in parliament. This cycle must be broken. This country cannot be uplifted without doing so.
Minister of Tourism Harin Fernando says he expects that the tourism industry will be able to recover completely by 2024.
I believe we can create a market. Tourists' arrivals may not be up to the levels we expect, but 2024 will definitely be our year. There are indications. The population of China is over 1 billion and the population of India is nearly 1 billion. We are trying to bring down 500,000 tourists from China. If 500,000 tourists from China who spend $5,000 each arrive, that is $2.5 billion. We can earn the amount the IMF will give for 4 years in a year. The tourism minister expressed these views at a discussion held with the tourism business community in Negombo yesterday.
Two people were arrested for assaulting a police officer assigned to the security detail of Minister Prasanna Ranatunga and another individual in Pansilgoda, Minuwangoda on Thursday evening. Sri Lanka police said that a heated exchange between two factions led to the altercation. A police officer assigned to the security detail of Minister Prasanna Ranatunga and a staff member detailed to the minister were injured and were admitted to the Gampaha base hospital. According to the locals, the altercation took place when a group had visited a land in Pansilgoda and started digging trenches. Speaking to News First, Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said the incident had taken place at a land that belongs to a foundation.
මේ ඉඩමේ තිබුණේ කොරියන් හිතවතුන්ගෙන් ලබාගත් ආධාර අරගෙන යන්ත්‍රෝපකරණ අරගෙන
A vocational training center was operational at the premises with the facilities and equipment funded by Korean authorities. The government operated the premises for several years. Many years later, the building at the premises reached a dilapidated state and it was decided to remove the building and plant coconut trees as a development project. A political group had misled the local community and that resulted in two people assigned to the premises being assaulted. The police is taking action regarding the incident. The premises is not a playground and permission was even granted by the foundation to organize the annual Vesak Tansala. The land does not belong to me and belongs to the foundation.
The Department of Agriculture has requested farmers to commence cultivation of this harvesting season promptly as it plans to harvest for a third season this year. Minister of Agriculture Mahinda
At higher rates, you can obtain for bundle. The next fertilizer shipment is due to arrive in around 2 weeks. We are looking into reducing the price of urea fertilizer further when the shipment arrives.
සිද්ධ කරනවා එසා එහෙම ගන්න අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ. රුපියල් 10000 බැගින් මේ පෝර ලබා ගන්න. ඊළඟ පෝර නැව තව සති දෙකකින් වගේ එන්න තියෙනවා. ඒ ආපු විගස තවත් යූරියා මිල අඩු කිරීම පිළිබඳව අපි අවධානය යොමු කරලා තිනවා.
A 15-year-old boy was killed in a wild elephant attack on Thursday evening in Thirappana, Thalava.
Locals in Thirappana, Thalava had worked together to clean the Thirappana river on Thursday evening. News First correspondent said that during the clean-up process, 3 boys were seen heading to a nearby area, and it was then that a wild elephant had attacked the victim. The student who sustained serious injuries was rushed to the Thalava hospital for treatment and was then moved to the Anuradhapura teaching hospital for further treatment, where he died. The deceased was identified as a 15-year-old Satsara Viraj Vaniyarachi from Thirappana, Thalava.
They visited the temple in the afternoon and it was then he was attacked. This would not have happened if the wildlife officers were here. The elephant still remains at that location and caused damage to cultivation last night. The wildlife officers did not arrive. The Sri Lanka Navy brought ashore an ill fisherman for medical attention on Friday.
The Sri Lanka Navy brought ashore an ill fisherman who had fallen ill while aboard a multi-day fishing trawler. The rescue operation took place approximately 460 nautical miles, about 851 kilometers, off the coast of Galle in the southwestern region of Sri Lanka. The multi-day fishing trawler named Krevin Baba 1 with 6 crew members on board had set sail from Dikkovita Fisheries Harbour on the 23rd of May for fishing. However, as misfortune struck, one of the crew members fell seriously ill at sea to the southwest of Sri Lanka. Responding to the urgent situation, the Navy directed SLNS Vijay Bahu on surveillance duties in the southern waters to the designated area to bring the patient ashore.
The LOLC Divisavya program that aims to support the education of Sri Lankan children took place entering the Batticaloa district today.
School books and stationery equipment are being distributed to school children under the Divisavya program. This worthy initiative is a collaboration between the LOLC group and the Ministry of Education. School books and stationery equipment were distributed to children from Eralakulam Vidyalaya in Batticaloa, Periya Vidyawan Kannaki Vidyalaya, Taravishwi Kalaivani Vidyalaya and several other schools in the Kalkuda education zone of the Batticaloa district under the LOLC Divisavya program. Divisavya is being carried out to ensure a bright future for the children of Sri Lanka.
News first with the people.
An ex-Sri Lanka Army corporal was arrested by the police special task force with a T-56 firearm and live ammunition.
The arrest was made opposite the SLTB depot in Godakavela upon information received by the Intelligence Division of the Police Special Task Force. The suspect, aged 37, who had a firearm and 340 rounds of ammunition, is a resident of Rakwana. Investigations had revealed connections between the suspect and the underworld.
The former mayoress of Colombo, Roti Senanayake, was appointed as the advisor to the president on local government affairs. The appointment was made by the president and the appointment letter was issued by the secretary to the president. Moving on to international news, Elon Musk's brain chip firm says it has received approval from the US Food and Drugs Administration to conduct its first tests on humans.
The billionaire's Neuralink implant company wants to help restore people's vision and mobility by connecting brains with computers. It says it does not have immediate plans to start recruiting participants. Musk's previous ambitions to begin tests came to nothing. The regulator itself is yet to comment. According to reports, an earlier bid by Neuralink to win FDA approval was rejected on safety grounds. Neuralink hopes to use its microchips to treat conditions such as paralysis and blindness, and to help certain disabled people use computers and mobile technology. The chips, which have been tested in monkeys, are designed to interpret signals produced in the brain and relay information to devices via Bluetooth.
That's a wrap of the lunchtime news. Join us again at 9 p.m. for primetime news on TV1.